Hello, everyone. I'm Crystal.
I'm Kristen.
And this is Damsels After Dark, a show where we, your favorite damsels, deep dive into a book each week from cover to cover.
Every episode, we will discuss a few chapters while we give a complete walkthrough, while we rant, obsess, analyze, all of it.
In this episode, we will continue to discuss the fanfiction Manacled. We'll be covering chapters 6 through 10, and if you haven't already, the book is free to download, and we'll provide the link in the description below.
This episode will contain spoilers, so if you don't want this book's secrets revealed to you, please come back and join us when you're ready.
Without further ado,
let's jump into it.
So I'm mopey this week because if you watched our episode previously, you know that this is a reread for Kristen and I. And my plan was I thought I could manage, was to read only the chapters that we would be discussing during the week. I thought that maybe it wouldn't really take off, because I've already read it before. So, I'm not going to be super grabbed or pulled into it like I was the first time. That failed.
Oh, yeah. Of course it did. I think because this is my fourth time reading it, and the second time was just as strong. I think it was even more strong.
I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
And my friend is also reading it right now. And so I wanted to keep pace with her. And once she took off, I took off and I slid down the hill. And now I've come out of... I'm pretty much towards the end of the book. And so I'm just depressed. I'm mopey. And just all day yesterday, people wanted to go fly kites at the beach. And I'm just moping around. It's a beautiful, bright, summery day outside.
They don't understand the plight of this book right now.
Yeah, my heart has been shattered, guys. There's no joy in me, right?
I get anxious. I get super anxious when I reread this book. I feel all that anxiousness and tension throughout the book. And then, the mopiness. But it's I walked around. Even the first time was so bad with the anxiousness.
It was so bad.
Oh, the second time around wasn't so bad. But I'm still feeling anxiousness. But the depression, I already know what's to come. So it's oh.
That's what took me by surprise, because I'm thinking, okay, I already know what happens. There's no way I'm going to be as depressed, as anxious. No, it does not matter at all. I hit those same parts and I'm super angry at the same parts I was already angry at before. I'm almost more mad.
Angry. Yeah, I was more angry.
And then when the sad parts hit, even though I know what's going to happen, I know how it ends, I'm still just devastated.
Yeah.
So all week I have been slowly falling into this pit of just despair. Yeah. So, and now we pop out here. And now we get to start our episode off with just extra despair.
Yeah, because where it starts off is pretty just horrible. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because we're gathering the masses. You should read this book. It's so great. But we're just all one lump of depression.
Yeah, no.
Do you like this book? It's depressing you. Yes.
You'll love this book. It shattered my soul. It tore me in pieces, but it's the best book I've ever read. It's funny because my best friend who's reading it now, when I was reading it, she was reading ACOTAR and she was on book 3 and she was depressed. And I was just thinking to myself, you don't know depression.
Yeah, you don't know what
depression is.
Yeah.
And so now that she's rereading it, she's hit it with me. I was remember when you were going through ACOTAR and you were like, I'm sad. I'm this is what I was doing. This is the depression I was hitting.
Yeah. Oh, there's no words for that kind of depression when you're reading this book compared to ACOTAR. That's not depression.
that was sadness. You were sad.
You were just a little bit sad. No, this is
another level.
This is trauma.
This is
straight trauma. After the first time we read it, we had to step aside and kind of huddle in a corner for 3 days.
Yeah, for weeks I felt like I was depressed. I had to
reread.
I tried to reread, but I could not. I had to pour my heart out to drawing. That's essentially what I did. Just went and anything to distract myself while still kind of being in the world. But yeah, it's a great book, guys. I swear. It's so good.
It's a brilliant book. Mm-hmm. It really is. A fan fiction.
I can't even believe it.
Yeah.
I don't even want to call it that. I understand that it is, but when you say that to people, they're just oh, it's a fan fiction.
I know it's definitely a turnoff, but I feel like when I tell them about the book itself before I tell them it's a fan fiction. Mm-hmm. Almost kind of putting it as a little side note. Oh yeah, it's great. This book is great. It's this, and this, and it's oh, it's fan fiction.
Yeah, but
yeah,
it's like a novel. Just ignore the fact that it's a fan fiction, though it is. But just don't look down on it because it's a fan fiction. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. But yeah, so I'm in the perfect mood to tackle
the upcoming chapters.
Yeah, what's going down today.
It's starts off pretty strong already. I mean, if you remember, we're left off in the room with Hermione and Draco in Draco's room. And what's to come is, we have to just say, there's lots of warnings here for possible, trauma triggers. There's sexual assault. There's self-harm. And I believe there's still a lot of gruesome war events going on. I'm pretty sure she still talks about a lot of the torture.
Yes.
In these chapters.
Yeah. So essentially, just the trigger warnings are going to be the same as they were last time, and it'll bleed through the entire book. This is a trigger warning book.
Yeah.
So heed those warnings, please.
Yeah.
But so yes, we're starting strong on chapter 6. Draco has just entered the door. He entered his bedroom.
Yeah, it's his bedroom.
And he sees her, and I think he said, like, "Oh, is today the day, Mudblood?" And that's where we left off. And so she's standing there in this room, totally uncertain of what she should be doing. She's like, should I be on the bed? Should I just stand here?
I mean, she has no option. There's no option to run. She can't do anything. She's got those compulsions. She has to obey, so her resound is just to deal with it, to figure out whatever she has to do to survive at this point. And so she knows what's to come, and she's just trying to figure out like the best way to make the situation go faster.
Yep. And so while she's standing there, he sort of walks past her, and he walks up to the wardrobe and opens it up, and there's like a little mini bar in there, and he pulls out fire whiskey and like pulls
it out with the cork.
Yeah, he pulls the cork out with his teeth and like spits it on the floor, and just, I don't know that he finishes the whole bottle, but he slams a good amount of the bottle down. And then he summons a table in the middle of the room and essentially tells her, lay on it. Which, at least it's very impersonal. And so, of course, she goes over there, she lays on it. She makes note of the fact that her, like, hip bones are grinding up against the wood, which is, I think, a good tell about how malnourished she is, even though she was being fed and working out in the cell that she was in.
Yeah.
She's still pretty malnourished, skinny enough that her bones are grinding up against the table as she's laying down. And then she hears Malfoy approach slowly. And I think he even says to her, like, are you a virgin?
Yeah.
Do you even remember that?
Really, really shitty things in a way. I mean, it's shitty that he's saying these things. Why he even says it, I don't know. I don't know why he says this. But I know, even after reading the whole book, I don't know why he would. I mean, maybe.
I think we could discuss after we get towards the end,
because that's a really weird thing for him to say. But he does. He says, "Are you even virgin? Do you remember that?" He said something about Ron and Harry may have gotten to her,
have climbed up in there. I think was the words that he used.
Really weird. I don't like this. Nobody likes this part.
Yeah, it's not a great.
And just so you know, she's not like laying on it. She's kind of bent over because he tells her to bend over.
Yeah.
So she can't see him. So she kind of mentions that in a few times during this process, that she's lucky, if you want to call it lucky, that she's not having to face him or look at him.
Yes, it's very impersonal.
Yeah, and so she's bent over. He walks up to her very slowly. I think that's when he lifts her skirt.
So he does do a lubrication charm on her. So she talks about how she can feel warmth, I think, happen there.
Yeah, warmth.
And then he just impales himself. And the only thing that she says is that from where they're connected, that's the only place that he's touching her. He's not touching her anywhere else. And I think even after he does the lubrication spell, he says a reasoning is that he doesn't want to
get her infections or any of that,
or damage her to ruin her usefulness, which is blech.
Yeah, this is so disgusting. And also when his hand, because the only thing she could see is his hand, and his hand being there, she sees something faintly glitter on his finger, like a ring.
She does say, a black ring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is,
put a pin in that.
Yeah, that's important later.
And then they do, the thing happens, and once he's finished, he immediately jerks himself off, and I think he goes and like sits on the bed right away and tells her to get out. and she's under the compulsion, or I don't even know if it's under the compulsion for this, but she was told she's not allowed to leave.
Yes, it is under the compulsion.
Under the compulsion.
Yeah.
So she's told she's not allowed to leave for 10 minutes. She has to stay still, obviously, because the hope is that she gets pregnant. So she tells him that, and he just screams at her to get out.
Yeah.
And as he does that too, he
takes away the table.
Removes the table, and she slams her head onto the ground.
Yeah.
She gets a cut on her face, and then she's bleeding, and then she's running out of the room because obviously, like, that's fucking scary.
Yeah, and she's terrified. She's absolutely terrified, hysterical, running out. And I think at this point she tries to go to, was it like up the stairs and off a banister?
Yeah, I think, actually, I don't know. In my head, that they were already on like the top. Like, I thought she was already on the top
For
floor.
some reason, in my head, she's on the bottom floor.
Oh, because I think she's looking over, thinking that she could just jump.
Yeah, she does do. At one point, at this, I think wherever she goes, she ends up over a banister about wanting to jump. Where she is, I don't know.
And it's because she couldn't remember her way back to the room. Because she's only been brought there one time. And then Astoria brought her to Malfoy's room, or Draco's room. Yeah. And so she doesn't really know where she's going. Obviously, she's just been SA'd. Her mind scrambled. He's yelling at her. She's freaking out. And so she ends up not knowing where she's going. Ends up on top of a banister or above a banister.
I'm guessing it's really high up. It has to be for her to decide that she wants to end her life this way. Mm-hmm. And I mean, obviously, if you're just on the second floor, you're really not necessarily going to end your life unless you're going to hang yourself. But there's nothing for her to hang herself. She couldn't even do that. I don't even know if she could jump.
Yeah.
She definitely wants to, and she mentions it, and I think she tries to, and that's when Draco
comes and just grabs her.
Like I said, I don't know if she was even going to be able to jump, but she's close enough, though.
Yeah, she was certainly thinking about it in that exact moment. Like, I could just do it. I could just jump right here and end everything. And as she's thinking about this, he stops her and grabs her. And then I don't know if he says anything noteworthy here, but
no, I think he just says something along the lines of, "You think I'd let you do this?" Or that's pretty much it. And she just screams at him, "Just let me do it, just let me do it." And I mean, I think he says, "Why?" So something along the lines of, "I'm not gonna let you do this because you're important for the mission or for whatever our High Lord needs you to do." It's pretty much that kind of a talk.
Yeah, I think
nothing too major.
No, and then he takes her back down to her room, does a cleaning spell to clean up and fix the cut that she has, and then they do have a conversation where she is begging him, saying, "Just let me kill myself. You don't want me to be the mother of your children."
Yeah.
And he essentially says to her, like, "You have usefulness. I am supposed to have 3 heirs from you, and then once I'm done with you, you're going to the next family."
Yeah. So he's not going to let her. He's not going to let her do anything to herself. Well, like I said, I don't even think she can. I mean, she's tried. She's put on that show with the cup and stuff like that, but there's nothing really that shows that she could, even if she says, "Let me kill myself." But he's making it, he's not even saying, "Well, go ahead and try." That's what's kind of weird about that. Yeah. He's saying, "I'm not going to let you."
Yeah.
The Dark Lord tells me that you're useful. But at the same time, he could just be like, "Go ahead and try and see if you could do it."
Yeah.
Because she knows she can't. So he's not even going to toy with her at this point. He's just making adamant that, no, he's not going to let her die.
Mm-hmm. And then after that, he goes into her mind. And he doesn't even really spend a lot of time with the locked memories. He spends a lot of time looking at the war and her imprisonment. And it took hours. And he's also interested in all of her schemes that she's been thinking of to kill herself. So he's spending a lot of time looking at those. And he's also paying close attention to the manacles and the compulsions that were laid. And again, it took hours, she said. But once he comes up to present, when she's walking down to his room, is when he pulls out, and she makes note that he must not want to see her point of view from the encounter. Like, he was not interested in seeing any of that.
Yeah.
So after he's done with the mind reading, because I can't say the word.
Yeah. Legamency.
Yeah.
Legamency.
Whatever it is, it's henceforth will only be referred to as mind reading. After he's done with that, then he yells at her, or he doesn't yell at her, but he does say to her, "Don't come to my room ever again.
Yeah.
I will bring a table.
Voice.
Yeah, I'll bring a table here for you." Which I think is interesting, because also when he was looking through her mind, he sees her panic attacks
Yeah.
that she's having, that she couldn't leave the room. So I almost took this a little bit as a courtesy to her, because maybe because he clearly saw that she was struggling. So it came off that way to me anyways. It was almost like a courtesy of, don't come into my room. Because he almost clearly doesn't use the room. That was how I took it. The room was so sterile and unused, and
there should be no reason why, in my opinion, he should do it in his room, because she lives in her room. Yeah. And he's never in his. Obviously, he doesn't even care. And so, I don't know. I felt like he should have done it in his room.
He should have done it in his room.
Give her some more, like, I don't know if he, at this point, you don't know if he gives a shit enough about anything but whatever it is, because you don't know what Draco is going through, like his mind or anything like this right now. There really is, he's just cold in Hermione's eyes right now. So if that's the case, why would it matter if it is in his room?
Well, and the reason I think is because he sees that she's struggling to walk down the hall, and he doesn't want her to have to walk down the hall. Not that he specifically cares or not, but like, that's going to be a challenge for him every time. To like go get her and bring her down.
He went through her mind. He saw that she had panic attacks. Just
couldn't
don't
leave.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
And I think that's why he put it there. But then also, it is even more cruel to her
because it's in her room.
It's in her room. Like, this is her safe space, and now she has to think about the fact that you're going to be in her room.
But yes, I don't like that at all. Like, I feel like he should have done it in his room. But now that you pointed that out, it makes sense. Also, she knows exactly when he is coming in her room. Mm-hmm. He says to her, every time around that time of the month, I will send a table to your room, and that's when you'll know.
Mm-hmm. And he sends it like a half an hour in advance.
Yeah,
it pops up at 7:30.
Yeah, and he'll be there at 8. So it's almost kind of like, here's your warning. I'm going to make the table come at 7:30. You'll know I'll be there at 8. So, so at least she has some kind of idea or warning. Mm-hmm. I mean, as shitty as it is, so shitty that it is, at least she knows that he won't bother her up until that point. And it's just so shitty.
Only 5 times too for the month, but it is, I mean, it's all around shitty. So
yeah, and this being the first day, she's got 4 more days.
She's got 4 more days of this, so that sucks. And he just leaves after that and leaves her there, and she's obviously exhausted, so she just lays on the bed and I think just falls asleep.
Yeah, she doesn't clean herself up. She just doesn't even want to kind of acknowledge what just happened, so she just lays there and goes to bed.
Yes, she does just lay down and go to bed. Sorry, I jumped over you.
It's okay.
But she does say something here, which is just super heartbreaking. Well, she doesn't say it, but she's thinking it inside of her head, which is really heartbreaking. She says that before she falls asleep, she's thinking of the time when she was a girl who fought, who believed in books and cleverness and friendship and bravery to overcome all things. And she puts blame on Draco stomping that girl to dust, which...
That's unfair,
I think it's unfair. I mean, I get that he just, like, essayed her, but there's a lot of trauma here between the time whenever she got captured and put underneath Hogwarts until this moment. There's a lot of shit.
Oh, there's a lot of shit. I mean, she even mentions her friends being tortured in the most horrendous ways. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how you could put all that on Draco, saying maybe it's the straw that broke the camel's back. Mm-hmm. I mean, but to say that he's the one that broke her to dust is... Okay, here's the thing. Hermione, in my opinion, even though she's a pain in the ass, she's a very strong individual.
Yes.
And everybody has their things which will break them. Mm-hmm. This is a fictional person. Mm-hmm. However, I really highly disbelieve that she would be broken by sexual assault.
I also don't believe that she would be. I
have trouble with that statement.
I think the torture of her friends, witnessing them being tortured to death,
gruesome.
would have been what killed that girl who believed in bravery, that girl who believed in cleverness. Like, that, I think, would have done it.
Because she loved them more than herself. Yep. So there is no reason to believe that her injury to herself would be the reason why she breaks.
Yes, I 100% agree. I think maybe, if I'm trying to rationalize it from her point of view, maybe she still felt like she was that girl, like she was still holding on to that, and I guess she just wants to point blame on the closest thing to it, which the closest thing that she just experienced that just felt like it shattered who she is. I don't know. Yeah. I'm trying to rationalize it. I'm thinking maybe just because she came out of this, that's who the monster is right now. That's the closest in her vicinity who that evil person is. So therefore, he did it. Though.
Yeah. I mean, have to rationalize it somehow because she's
you have
saying
to rationalize it.
It's like, okay, she's saying it, but yeah, I have a hard time. I agree. I agree. Maybe that's just in that moment and in that pain, in that regard, she feels like this is the last straw and this is what broke her. He's the epitome of it. He's like the actual person in front of her that's just doing everything right now.
Yeah.
To throw it in her face. Well, he was the one who killed all her friends, you know, and stuff like that too. So I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, but even then, if we're questioning, I mean, we're spending a lot of time on this, but even then, if we question that, she was already thinking to herself, like, who is he? How did he become Faerie? How did he do all this? I don't
to put all of that, to question all of that, and then be like immediately like he's the reason.
Yeah, that I lost everything that I was. I don't think so.
Yeah, I just have a hard time with that because when you're being tortured or when you're having these issues and you're going through trauma, you know, you tend to lean on yourself to get through this stuff. So if you're telling yourself you're broken now and that's the reason for it, I just have a hard time with that if that's not necessarily the truth, you know, and I don't believe that's her truth. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's super heartbreaking to read that line.
Yes,
because
it is.
If you think of traditional Hermione,
yes. I take it personal with that. I do, because I believe Hermione's a very strong woman. Even to say that at your breaking point, you're not a strong person, you could still be a strong person at your breaking point. I just feel like she's so deep in her depression right now, she's not understanding that she really isn't broken. Yeah. And she believes she is.
Yes.
And I think that's what it really is. I don't believe she's broken. And obviously, you know, time goes on. Time will tell.
Time will tell if she's broken or not. And so, yeah, after she says that, she passes out and then she wakes up. And then that's when she takes her shower.
Yeah.
Which
she scrubs and scrubs and scrubs. She just wants every bit of yesterday or last night to be removed from her body.
Which is pretty typical. I
mean, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I would have wanted to have done it right after. But I guess she's probably still thinking that she needs to get pregnant, so she needs to sit in the filth.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. Maybe she just. I don't know.
She was just too exhausted.
Yeah.
Or there's a lot going on. I'm not going to question her hygiene situation, but she does get it all scrubbed off of her.
Yeah.
And while she's showering or out of the shower or bath, she takes a bath because in her room there's just a tub. She's noticing that there's scars on her body that she doesn't quite remember how she got
I forgot
them.
about that part. Yeah. She's starting to question, like, where do these come from? She realizes that this is a time where she probably, there's just so much more than her memories than she thinks. There's so much more lost in her memories than she can think of. And can you imagine just coming out or going to the bathroom? This must be the first time she's actually able to shower without anybody paying attention to her too. That's a real mind blower too, because she's been locked up for how long, and she's now this is the first time now she's looking at herself and able to see all the scars, bumps, and bruises. And then be like, I don't know where this stuff came from. That is, after you've just been sexually assaulted.
Yes.
That is horrific.
Like rediscovering your body.
Yeah.
After somebody's violated your body.
Yeah. It's too much.
It's a lot. Nobody's joking when they tell you that this is a lot. Yeah. And it's very heavy.
Yeah.
So she makes note of, I don't think there's anything super specific here. She just discovers that there's a scar on her rib cage and there's a few other scars on her body, but she doesn't pay too much of a mind to them other than just to say that they're there, and she doesn't remember how she got them. And then she's still panicked about leaving her room, so she just opts to stay in for the day. And then she goes over and looks out the window. There's a hedge maze.
Oh yes, yes.
That she can see, and she spends.
Every time I think of a hedge maze, I always think I always think of The Shining.
That's funny.
So it's like it's a pretty decent size, and I don't think it's well taken care of too. I think she mentions it in there somewhere. But yeah, she just looks out and she kind of just like starts to space out. And I think that's when she starts thinking of. I think that's when she just starts thinking of random things. Yeah,
and mainly she's just thinking that she can't rise above this situation. There's no way out, and she just wants to die.
Yeah.
So just depressive thoughts, as you would assume she's thinking. And then I think she just stays in the room for the rest of the day.
Yeah, because she doesn't want to try and get over her depression and try to get over her agoraphobia at the same time. That's just too much. So she's knowing that, she just has to stay in her room, and then the next day is the next day, and the same things pretty much happen. So 7:30, table forms up at the middle of her room, and yeah, and that's when she says, as humiliating, as horrifying it is, at least she didn't have to look at Draco when he did it, didn't have to touch him. She didn't want to see him. He didn't speak when he came up to her, and he just performed as he did the night before, and then he just left. During the whole time, though, she kind of disassociates herself and just starts to go into whatever peaceful memories she can have that she can try and remember. And on this occasion, she talked about a poem, and there was a whole poem that we're just not going to read, but there was just a whole bunch of poems and things that she was, and I think she was remember bits and pieces of this poem, and then she tried to remember and recall who and how she learned this poem, and she remembered that it's her mother, but she cannot remember anything about her mother, just that her mother once told it to her as a child.
Yeah, that's sad. So
Very
even
sad.
memories that you could find comforting, like remembering your mother telling you a poem, you don't even have to comfort you in an area that's in a time that you need the most comforting. She can't even find that.
Yeah, it's so fucking sad.
Literally no ray of sunshine or silver lining anywhere here.
This is so dark and deep and just too much, so much. So let's take a little break for a second and just hope that you're in a really good mental headspace, because we forget to mention that. But like, if you need a break, it doesn't get any better.
No.
So.
Not till you close the book does it get any better. And but even then, it's not good.
Yeah. So the depression, I mean, this is only day 2.
This is only day 2. Yeah. And so we have 3 more days to go of the same stuff. And it's the same thing.
It pretty much is.
7:30, table's there. Draco shows up, performs, leaves.
Yeah.
And he does the same thing. He doesn't talk to her, doesn't really touch her. And then leaves. Yeah.
So this for the whole 5 days, and I think on the 6th day, she was just like, I'm gonna try and start exploring, because now she knows the essay is over for now. So I don't know if she got. I don't want to say that like this way, but I don't know the else to say it. I don't know if she got a little pep in her step to to a try to. It's so horrible to say, but I can't think of anything else. But finally, she gets the courage. I should have said that. Get the courage. I'm trying to make light of this. This is so depressing. I'm sorry.
No.
Oh my God, it's so horrible. Anyway, she got the courage. Forget I just said that. She got the courage to try and get out of her room. I think she did, though.
She does. I think she makes it. Down the hall? Does she make it down the hall?
I think she like pushes herself out of the room too. I think she does, and then I don't think she gets very far at all. I really don't.
No, so she gets down the hall. She makes it into another room. I think, like you said, she just kind of pushes herself out of the hall into another room, because it's not the different rooms that are freaking her out. It's the wide open space of the hallway that's freaking her out. So she makes it into another room, and in this room there's a shower, and she is so happy about having a shower.
Yeah. Because she can pretty much go wherever she wants. She's not designated to stay in her room. They tell her she can go. So being the fact that this door is open, there's a shower in there, she can go in there. Also, it's that same witch in the picture, the portrait, is there too, just kind of like following her,
which would drive me crazy.
You know, I would, depending on how shitty like I feel that day. Sometimes it would be just nice to have just this witch watching over me. I would feel like she's watching over me.
Oh, I would feel like she's spying on me at all moments of the day. I would be like, can I not just get a moment to myself? Like privacy I can't get in my own room. I can't take a shit without this girl in the bathroom.
She's in the bathroom. I forgot.
Yeah, she watches. That. I mean, there's nothing to say that she's actually watching her while she's like bathing and stuff, but she has the ability to walk into the bathroom with her. She has the ability to follow her through all these. That would drive me insane.
She does. I wouldn't want her in the bathroom, but like, I feel like I would be a nuisance to her. I think I would be in this room. I'd be like so bored. I'd be like, hey, so how's your day? I would end up talking to this portrait because he could talk back. And she'd probably be like, fuck this bitch. I don't want to be around her. She talks too much. And she'd probably like, I'd be like, start knocking on the portrait. Hey, are you there?
Asking questions.
Yeah.
Where are you? How old are you?
Do you like it here?
How does it feel to be a portrait? I don't know.
I would be asking some dumbass questions, but yeah. No, I feel like in a way, maybe at some point in the beginning she wouldn't like it as long as she's in the bathroom with me. But I feel like it'd be nice to keep me company.
Yeah, I think I would hate it. Maybe I would like it, but then again, this is obviously somebody in Draco's line. Like this is the ancestor of Draco.
I know. I'd still make friends with her.
This is like your enemies. I don't know who it is. But anyway, so I would just be so annoyed at this woman following me around all the time. Well, I guess she's not a woman. She's like a girl.
She's like a
16
or
something.
Yeah, Sabrina the teenage witch.
Sabrina. You gotta start calling her Sabrina.
So I think before she starts going off into her wandering around the room, wandering around the hall, she starts to think of people that she hates. She's like, besides Draco I hate the most. So like it went from he's the one who broke me to now I hate Draco, but there's still a few more people I hate more than him.
Mm-hmm.
And she mentions that besides Lord Voldemort, she hates him, and she hates Dolohoff, and Anton. I don't know. Antonin Dolohov. Yeah, he is the like the head of the curse development.
Yes.
She says she hates him, but she doesn't say anything else about him other than that. He was the head of the curse development and she can't stand him. She hates him more than Draco for some reason.
Yes. And Voldemort's curse division.
Yeah.
He was the head of that. And so, I mean, makes sense. She was a healer. So.
Yeah. But she doesn't say anything other than that. She kind of just like mentions it and then goes off wandering the rooms and stuff like that. And then I want to say at this point she recognizes her weakness is this agoraphobia thing in wide open spaces. She says the hallway is the thing that upsets her most. When she's in the room and she's closed off, she doesn't feel so bad. But once she's in the hallway trying to wander about, she gets panic and anxiousness. And then she thinks of her own weaknesses and like now tries to figure out, well, if I have weaknesses, everybody has weaknesses, and Draco has to have some. Now I have to figure out his weakness. So now she's back on this mental mission that she has. She's always got to have a mission to make herself get out of her depression.
Which makes sense.
Yes.
I mean, you want to channel these thoughts into something. Yeah.
Even if you can't get anywhere or do anything, you have no control, you need to find some kind of distraction to keep your mind. That's just that's what she's been doing.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate though, because she keeps thinking the same things and she keeps coming back to the same conclusion, which is she's either got to kill herself or make Draco kill her or
kill him.
And it's just every time she's like, but I can't.
Yeah. How about, like you said before, let's work on mission 1 and to get over your agoraphobia.
Yeah. Step 1 is you need to be able to walk out into open space.
Yeah.
You can't do anything if you cannot actually escape.
Yeah.
Plus you have manacles. So I don't know. That's step 2, honestly.
She's just being ridiculous.
She is.
She's just like we talked about. She's just trying to find a way through her trauma, and sometimes it's to be ridiculous. So.
And she's channeling that anger onto the person who's currently imprisoning her and SAing her. So I get it.
Yeah.
It's just
why wouldn't you?
One step at a time.
Yeah.
And then later that day, I believe Malfoy steps into that room, and I think she's working out. She is working out, which is.
He's like,
I would never be caught dead spending my free time working out in a room. Not me.
He's like, is this a muggle thing?
Yeah. Because I think she's just like laying on the floor. Because again, she's working out to exhaustion. So she's laying on the floor. Yeah, he does come in. Is this a muggle thing? You just lay on the floor?
Well, I think at this time he tells her, like, you haven't been following instructions. You're supposed to be going outside. You're supposed to do 1 hour a day. And she hasn't been doing that. And I think that's when he tells her too, I'm not going to have your mental instability interfere with my ability to obey my master, because if she's not doing what she's supposed to do, obviously Draco's going to get shit for it. So he's just like, no, that's not going to happen. So he gives her a cloak, and I think it's like really cold outside.
Yep.
He gives her a cloak, and he starts escorting her outside. And this is her first time being outside since Harry died. I forget about that because every time she's gone somewhere, she was transported. She never went outside. So that's kind of horrifying, especially if you have agoraphobia.
Especially if you can't even make it into a hallway.
Yeah.
And now you're out in the big wide world.
Yeah.
So yeah, he does take her, gives her a cloak and takes her out. And he just sort of is like, all right.
You got an hour.
And he pops up a chair. He opens up the newspaper. He is so chill.
Yeah.
1 hour. And she also hasn't seen a newspaper, books in 16 months. Well,
this is Hermione. She loves that shit. She loves that shit.
Yep. And I think she's glancing at the paper and she's seeing these big headlines of repopulation effort underway, and there's a big picture of her, and they did her so dirty. Not that they care, but they got her a picture unconscious, sitting in a hospital bed. That's the picture they put up.
I'd be so mad.
I would be so, like, you did her so dirty. You couldn't find any other picture of her. You had to pick this one.
Yeah, I'm like, look, you're already fucking me over. At least make me look good.
Yeah.
At least make me look good next to this fucking high read.
On the cover of the paper. Like, come on.
Yeah.
But so she
fucking had to do me unconscious. Like, come
in
on.
a hospital, and you know you are not looking cute.
Yeah, no.
She hasn't like showered from that situation. Like, no, come on.
Assholes, man.
At least have my eyes open.
You take my dignity from me too? Like, fuck.
Yeah.
Shit.
Like, it's one thing to secretly have this happening. It's another thing to have this shit blasted through the whole world.
At least make me look good, okay?
At least have my eyes open. Fuck. And so it says something like, Potter's mudblood is among the first surrogates chosen by the Dark Lord to increase the magical population. And then Draco, I love this part because he says, look, I'm included too.
I don't know why. It's so funny.
It is so funny. He says, look, I'm included too in case anyone in the whole wide world wants to know exactly who is fucking you and where you are.
It's so bad, but it's so funny. Because I can imagine him being like, look at me.
Everybody knows we're fucking. Like, it's so...
That's
so
fucked up, but it's so funny.
It is so funny.
It's like, why would you say that?
He gives no shits.
No, he obviously
not a shit in the world.
Fucking care.
And so of course she's hit with this. That everybody knows.
Smack him. I'm still on that. I'm sorry. I would want to smack the shit out of him. At first I'd be like, this motherfucker.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, I want to fucking kill him. And then that would be the sentence that would be like, I'm going to kill him.
That's how I would come to kill him, is just anger.
Yeah.
There's no pity here. I am just fucking angry.
Mad, yeah.
Once I saw that picture, I would be extra mad. Fuck you guys. And then you say some dumbass shit. Fuck you. God damn it. Can I catch a break?
I was about to say that. When's a bitch gonna catch a break around here? Fuck all y'all.
Assholes, all of them. Like...
And if I was put in the color red, I'd be extra pissed because I don't look good in red. She looks great in red. I do not. If some motherfucker put me in red and then said that, I'd be like, okay, this world is going to come to an end. I'm burning the planet down.
But it's red with the bonnet, too. You got to think you got that white bonnet.
White-ass fucking
pushing
bonnet.
all your hair back so it's just face. It's nothing but face and red. In the most unflattering, like, boxy dress. Like, it's horrible.
I would flip out.
That's what you have to walk around looking like, just in your daily life.
I think my anger would just somehow disassemble the manacles just because
just
I'm so
melt
mad.
them off.
Yeah, like melt them.
I would also... She sits in a lot of self-pity, and it's not just self-pity, but it's just sadness. She sits in sadness.
I would sit in anger.
I would as well.
I would seethe and writhe with anger.
Yep.
Like, God forbid anyone approach me. I'd be a rabid dog. I would be fighting that somebody would kill me.
Yes. And it's funny, too, because I think of this a lot when she's prepping herself to be essayed.
Yeah.
She, like, gets clean and shit. I'll be like, fuck you.
You're getting dirty. You're getting this dirty.
You're getting it from last time. It's so bad, but I would also be so petty and so spiteful.
So would I.
So
you
angry.
Ain't clean.
No. Especially you're putting me on a table. Like, I mean, that is the best scenario to do that in. But yes, like, you're gonna make this shit unpleasant. I'm gonna make this shit unpleasant. It's gonna be good for nobody.
The only thing is, I wouldn't want to get infections, so I'd have to find a way to not get infections. But I'd still be like, I ain't cleaning for you.
No, I'll clean every other day, but those 5 fucking days, you're sitting in it for 5 days.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I would be too.
So it's interesting to see a point of view of somebody who's like sad all the time, because sometimes as you mentioned last episode, it's kind of annoying.
It is. It
can get annoying.
Everybody's different. They handle these things differently. She's a fictional character, obviously, but in my mind, Hermione has always been a fighter, and that's why they said it in the first few chapters. Let your Gryffindor die. Let your Gryffindor die. But like, I imagine that she wouldn't be breaking right now. I feel like you said, if she were to have broken, it would have been at the moment she saw her friends. But now her friends, it's long gone. It's happened almost a year ago now, I would think. So it's like, it's time to pick yourself back up. And she was doing that. And all of a sudden, it's like she gets here and she's, I don't know, Hermione.
Defeated.
Yeah. She just really, she's just really giving up, and it's a tad bit annoying at times. But
I think it's interesting that you say that her Gryffindor feels like it's sort of died here and she's lost her way. But I think maybe that's the point of this, right? That she's gone through so much trauma that the Hermione that we think of as being this strong, bold, never breaking, that she has actually broken.
Yeah.
So it even hits harder when she's dealing with some of these things, like when she's saying that she's lost this clever girl. So like that Hermione did exist, the one that was unbreakable, and now we're just seeing her after she's broken.
Yeah, this depressed, I guess, watered down version of the fighter that Hermione was.
Yeah, like maybe she had her anger. Her anger was there, and it's now burned out. So we're seeing her at the end of this. I mean, I'm sure eventually anybody who would meet this sort of situation with anger, as maybe we would, eventually that fire,
it does.
If you can't do anything, yeah, and you've been, beaten down. Eventually, of course, you can't maintain that anger the entire time. So.
No, I'd like to think I could. I mean, but after a while, you get you really hungry.
Yeah, and well, I mean, we have
to
to think
super hungry, and she's not eating the greatest of food. I think she said it was unsalted and not
boiled.
Yeah,
she's eating lots of boiled, unsalted.
You know, I feel like that alone would make me angry. I would be so angry all of the time.
I mean, okay, I 100% agree with you, but we're meeting her at the end of a war, which we don't know anything about took place there. So maybe all her anger, she was using that during the war.
She doesn't even remember half of that anyway. So you think the fire in her of anger would be renewed? It'd be like, I'm even angrier, and then it's like, then you remember, and then it's like, it's I don't know.
No, I agree with you. Actually, that's a great point. Really, the picture would have thrown me over. The picture of me on the fucking paper would have thrown me over the edge. And then you come back to console with food because that's the comfort. And then you got boiled, unsalted, unseasoned food.
So disgusting.
It's like anywhere that somebody could fucking pick at her, they're doing it.
Yeah.
And she is crawling up in a ball, and yes, I
probably would cry with the food though.
I would be crying, but I would be these would be angry tears,
angry cry, sitting in the corner,
an ugly like Kim Kardashian cry face is what I'm imagining.
She cries horrendous. I just saw it. I'm not a Kim Kardashian fan, but I just recently saw her cry.
Yeah, I'm not also, but I have seen that. I probably used that GIF a few times because it's bad.
It is an ugly cry. I guess when you do all that stuff.
Yeah, you don't want to like ruin it. So I guess that's the face you need to make. I don't know. You don't want to. First of all, yeah, your face is paralyzed. You can't move it. Then you got all this makeup on. You're trying not to mess up. I don't know. It's bad though.
Ugly. It's ugly crying.
But anyways, after she sees a little bit of the paper, just enough. Draco basically says to her that like, go away, go get lost in the hedge maze. Why can't I say that word? The hedge maze. Go get lost in it. I'll get my hounds to drag you out. Yeah. When the hour's up, essentially.
Yeah. And then she starts panicking while she's walking over there because, I mean, she really still can't do any of this. Mm-hmm. And while she's panicking, she's starting to get really cold. And I think the slippers are so super thin that it's starting to cut at her feet. I believe that's right around now. Mm-hmm. And she just really can't walk.
So when he says that, I think she takes off running at this point.
Yeah, and I think that's when her feet get cut
That's
up.
when her feet, because she's like running on the gravel, and she has like the shoes are like cloth.
Yeah, they're they're like really shitty shoes. So.
Yeah, and she just gets this pep in her step to take off running, and she just runs for, I don't even know. I mean, I imagine this estate is humongous, so she just picks a direction and just takes off running. Yeah, and he did give her a cloak as they were walking down there. I think it's December, so it's like it's very cold,
and she loses it.
And she like takes it off.
Yeah,
she took it off and then just kept running for a good while, and then I think until she just really couldn't run anymore. And then she starts to make her way back. She's walking back. The gravel is still cutting at her feet, so she's bleeding now as well as she's walking. And she walks back to him, and he's still just sitting there, and he's like, "You got 10 minutes." And
I think at this point, when she gets back, she's just like, well, fuck you. And she goes off to the corner of the side of the house or whatever and kind of just huddles there. And she realizes she's getting really cold. And she's just like, well, this would be a good way to die by hypothermia. Mm-hmm. And then fucking Draco comes up and he's like, oh, you're a clever witch.
Yeah.
And then kind of like, I think he like makes a spell or whatever to kind of make her feel, well, he asks her where her cloak is. Mm-hmm. And she says she lost it. And he leaves, comes back with the cloak, and then he kind of does this spell just enough to keep her from dying from the cold, but not enough to warm her. And he's like, she's like, that fucker.
Yeah. What an asshole. Could have warmed me.
Yeah.
But was like, nah, I'll let you suffer. I mean, it is like he gave her a cloak. Like,
yeah.
How did you lose it? Now you're freezing. Now you want me to fucking keep you healed. Like, Draco just does not have the time nor the care to deal with this nonsense.
No. And you know what? She's being so ridiculous. She didn't have to. I mean, I know she's in her feels right now, but like, you really going to, if you're going to self-harm and you're going to do like things like running with your little bitty shoes, I don't know. Like, it's little ridiculous stuff. So she's not even purposely doing self-harm. That was completely by accident.
It almost feels like you're doing things like, and I even think, maybe she brings this up too, like, she's doing things like not eating to spite him, even though it's going to affect her. It's like, you're, okay, so you're running with your shoes to it's just going to hurt you. Yeah. Oh, you want to die of hypothermia in 10 minutes? Like he's not going to notice? No. So you're just making yourself cold by taking the thing off for no reason.
So you're actually torturing and punishing yourself along with everybody else. If you're trying to get out of this situation, wouldn't you want to make yourself a little bit better so you can be stronger enough to figure out how to get through this? Don't be another person torturing yourself, in my opinion. I mean, obviously you can't kill yourself. He's not going to let you. So find a way to make yourself stronger. You're just going to have to. And if you're going to dwell in the depression, in this state, I mean, I don't know. Wouldn't it be even better to just sit in your little wallow self in the corner and not hurt yourself even more? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's kind of just...
It's a hard mental space to get into, even though we're put in there with her. And so sometimes I do feel it with her, but there are some things that she does that are just like, if you're really determined to get out or kill yourself, like you said, you're doing things just to spite yourself.
Yeah. You're not hurting. You're not making, you're just being as bad as Draco at this point, torturing yourself.
And it's to no reason. Like, again, you're not going to die of hypothermia while he's 2 feet away, 10 minutes. Like, you're just torturing yourself, as you said. So it doesn't make any sense. And then after that, I think they like start going inside too, and that's when she's walking in and bleeding all over his like marble floor. Yeah. and he looks at it and pales and sort of stiffens up, and she says something like, surprised we bleed the same. Yeah. And he's just like, my hounds bleed the same color. If you're trying to act like the color of our blood is an indication of superiority, what's actually an indication of superiority is the fact that I own you and the hounds. So the question's answered. And then that's sort of the end of that conversation.
I think at this point she picks up the paper that he just put on the ground or whatever. I don't know where he had the paper.
I think he leaves. Yeah, he leaves her.
Yeah, he leaves her after because she comes back in. Now they have no reason because he doesn't have that escort outside anymore. So he just leaves and the paper's there. She grabs it up and, like, as she says, she devours it. Devouring every bit of information in it that it contains.
And that's the end, I think, of
that's the end of this chapter 7. At the end of this chapter, it has a very beautiful, I would say not beautiful, but a very, very nice illustration. And some depict it with color, some depict it with no color. But it's with Draco and Hermione, and there's like blood from her feet going up the stairs.
Yeah, they're both like standing there looking back at her blood footsteps. I'm obsessed with these illustrations in this book because they pop up at like the perfect time. And I don't know, we're reading it in the Kindle version, so it'll like be a surprise every time. So most of the time it's like a full page of text, and then you'll click over and it's like, oh my God, there's an image here. And it's so beautiful.
And this is the first image of this book. So I didn't know when we were reading it, I didn't know there's going to be illustrations. Yeah. And when the one popped up, I was like, oh wow, that's cool. And then I was almost wondering, like, are there going to be more? Yes. And they're wonderful. Yes. I mean, the first illustration is the cover of the book. So I didn't think there were going to be a bunch of them.
Yeah, well, because these books novels don't generally have pictures in them.
No, but this is, I guess, fan art. I don't believe San Lin Yu did.
No, she didn't.
Yeah, it was a separate artist that did the illustrations.
Oh, yeah, all of the illustrations. More artists, more books should do this because it's great. Every time you get hit with an image, and they were so perfectly placed.
They were.
Like, every image was like, yes, I really needed an image of this. I didn't realize I was craving this, but I love it. Yeah. So yeah, well, we'll show the image here too, so you can see it. And I think I'll also link down below to the artist page, so you can see all of the images because
that would be great.
They're great.
So so then it goes into chapter 8, and this is with her continuing reading the paper, and she just like goes through every inch of the paper, and she finds out that Lucius, what does it say? I don't think Lucius stated in the paper that she. Oh yeah, it says Lucius stated that he gave or stated that Lucius abdicated his title. I can't talk. Lucius abdicated his title to Lord, so that way his son could take over the manor. I was always wondering that in the beginning of the book because it didn't say. But when Lucius went crazy, he just decided that after his wife died that he didn't want the manor or have any responsibility or any of this anymore. And being that his son is his heir, he might as well just give it up.
Yep.
And his son is well respected and loved by that side of the community. So he just felt it was because he wanted to go on his little witch hunt.
Yeah, he has Weasleys to kill.
Yeah.
So yeah, he did give it to Draco. And then she also, and I think it says...
Because the paper is just like listing all this stuff about the Malfoy family for some reason. I don't know exactly why, but it said now went on to probably because...
It's almost like they're doing like a profile of Draco in the paper, because then it goes on to talk about that he was the one who killed Dumbledore, which she didn't have confirmed for her at that time. So now she's realizing that, okay, he was. And it lists him as the most... It talks about Draco as being most renowned for the assassination of the warlock Albus Dumbledore at the tender age of 16.
Yeah.
And he has been a long esteemed Death Eater.
So the thing is about this too, that I think notes in the paper that she starts to realize that Malfoy and the High Reeve are two separate entities in the paper.
Yes.
They are not the same. They are not associated with each other. So she's starting to realize that, not everyone knows that Draco is the High Reeve.
And she thinks to herself that it must be a way that Voldemort's trying to control Draco so that Draco isn't able to amass a following behind him.
Yeah.
And then as she's also going through the paper, she sees that Astoria is quite a socialite. And so she's going to all these like big adventures, all these big like events. And Draco is noticeably not there with her.
Yeah.
And she... Also, I just wanted to put an aside. I thought in my head that Astoria to me was like this prim and proper blonde girl.
She's not.
She's not blonde. You thought she was blonde too?
I did.
Okay, I was looking her up the other day. She has black hair and blue eyes.
Would never thought.
Would never have thought.
I thought she was very similar looking to the Draco, the Malfoy family. Like she was blonde hair. Like maybe some distant cousin. Because this is the witches family.
Yes.
This is witches and wizards or whatever. They were mingling with each other, so they didn't care if they were related. So I thought she was.
Yes, I did too. Apparently she's not, so it kind of blew my mind of what she looked like, because I was thinking like a socialite, right? She's blonde, she's beautiful, she's got that's what I imagined. No, she's not. So if that's in your head, she looks more get it out. She looks more like again, black hair, blue eyes, beautiful. She's described as being beautiful.
Oh, still beautiful, but I thought different features.
Yep, same. So she's going through the papers still, and she's making note that as soon as she knew any information, that so would her enemies. So her ignorance was simultaneously a shield and a weapon. It was buying her time to escape, but it might come down on her at any moment. Which, what anxiety that would be. You know that you need this information, any information, to trigger these memories, and that's going to be your salvation. It's going to be your way out. But at the same time, everybody around you is waiting for these memories to drop. Draco's looking into
so crazy.
Yeah, he's looking into your mind like every
day. Almost every day.
Yeah, I think it's after he does the essays.
Yeah.
After the 5 days. So it's like once a month he's going into her mind.
Yeah.
Voldemort's going into her mind once every other month. And everybody's waiting for these memories to drop. And the moment that they do and you finally find your salvation, they're going to see it. And it's going to be your downfall.
Oh, it's just so panicky, so much anxiousness.
And you don't have any control over it. Like you are literally also waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah, and you're like almost like you're waiting for it, but you're wanting to know your memories. And if I were her, I almost feel like this is the way Hermione is too. It's like she almost wants to have her memories back because she wants to see bits and pieces of her friends again because she doesn't remember a lot of them, a lot of it with them. And every time it does, she's just like scared at her
Yep.
memories. And at the same time, she's happy to see them. But then she's questioning what happened. And now she knows that everybody else is going to know.
Yep. And
So
also,
it's, so heartbreaking.
To your point there too, she also wants to know about herself because she's a completely different person than what she remembers herself to be. So in those memories is who she was as well. And so it's just
sad.
It's sad. It's all around sad.
Yeah. So yeah, as she's reading the paper too, she notes that there's an excerpt on the High Reeve killing multiple people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's in there too, just like one after another. He's just killing people.
It's in the picture of him killing the people is
beside the image of Hermione.
Yeah. Of him just like killing curse. Like, why would you put that? And it's like a GIF, you know, obviously because this is the Daily Prophet or whatever, and it's Muggle or not Muggle World, it's Wizard World.
Yeah,
that's an odd thing to put on the cover.
Well, you know, they don't care right now. They don't care. They're all assholes. That's pretty much ruling this fucking world right now. Yep. So they're going to put that shitty kill propaganda, I guess, on the front
I was
cover.
just about to say that's something important to note, that Voldemort has obviously he won the war, so he has used this, as you would, the news to spin your propaganda. Mm-hmm. We also missed the point in the very beginning when he's having the conversation with Hermione about everybody knowing that they're together or that she's there being screwed. He mentions that it's a trap. And he says something along the lines of, it seems too obvious of a trap, but your order is so dumb that anything subtler they may have missed. So we had to make it super obvious. So yes, now she has this idea that maybe there is somebody left in the order.
And there possibly is hope.
And there is hope, but she's also worried because he's surely secured this thinking that somebody was going to, and they're going to catch and kill whoever's going to go and rescue her. So now add that to the list of her worries.
She got so many.
She does have so many.
So many.
And then I think after all that, she heads up to her room and goes to eat her gross ass food.
Yeah. Unsauced, unsalted, and boiled.
She has no comfort.
That would be so miserable. I'd be like, look, at least there's food. And then the food shows up looking like trash and no candy.
And no candy.
Dessert.
No flavor.
Pop.
You get no flavors. You want flavors? No. You get mashed vegetable.
I would
boiled.
Want to kill myself based off that alone.
Yeah, same. Same. So while she's sitting in her room, she does the same thing that she always does, which is, again, pondering about how dangerous Malfoy is and trying to think of the circumstances surrounding him and then also surrounding the death of Dumbledore because, again, she just learned that it was Draco. And so now she's thinking about that. And she's sort of rehashing what she remembers.
Yeah, and it says that his autopsy concluded that the cause of death was the killing curse and...
to the back,
yeah. And she tried to desperately remember everything that happened and why it happened or how it happened. And she just remembered Draco's absence from Hogwarts after it happened was like he was just never there. And when the Auras, I can never say it, the Auras went to go to the Malfoy Manor, it was impenetrable. They put wards up, you can't get there. And he was just presumed guilty. So they didn't actually have a trial or anything to presume his guilt. But like, I mean, at this point, now he's admitting that he did. But at the same time, like, there's all this stuff surrounding his death. And she says she remembers a bunch of Hufflepuff and Slytherin students entering the castle. And they're the only ones who saw anything, but all their statements were contradictory. And it was pretty much just they saw somebody with the blonde hair.
And the Hufflepuff and who was it? Hufflepuff and Slytherin
students, yeah.
Those students that were there were first years, so they weren't even familiar with
anything.
Yeah. She also even says that during this time here, she's thinking that she doesn't remember so much that she doesn't even know what she doesn't remember. Yeah. Like she doesn't know it until it's questioned to her or it's brought up to her. So her memory loss is so endless.
Yeah,
she can't even begin to fathom what she's lost at this point.
And that's horrifying to think. Like, obviously she knows she lost a lot of memories, but like the idea that there's just way more than you already, like there could be way stuff before the war. She doesn't even know to what extent her memories are lost. Because she's starting to realize that it's a lot of it from before the war is even being lost to protect other people, she's assuming. So She obviously knows her mom and dad, but who else?
Because what is this memory?
Yeah.
Why can't you remember who killed Dumbledore?
Why is this memory so like? And it has to stem from one thing. It can't be many things. It's almost like it's a one common thread that she's trying to forget, and because of that, she's erasing so many different things, and it's like a spider web of memories. Which that's probably what her head looks like. Is a spider web of glowing, calcified memories.
Yeah,
it's sad.
And she notes, too, that it feels like she's trying to play a game of chess, but only Malfoy can see the board.
Yeah.
And just generally only her enemies can see the board.
Because they're the ones with all the memories, and she doesn't remember anything. So it's kind of crazy how, they remember everything, and she doesn't, yet they're coming at her wanting to know stuff. It's like, bitch, I don't know anything. I'm the one with the forgotten memories.
Yeah.
You're the one that remembers. Why can't you tell me what
I don't even know what I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know why I can't remember who killed the beloved professor.
Yeah.
Or headmaster. It's interesting. And I think for the next couple days, we just get that Draco is taking her out every hour.
Yeah, just that she's required to go. Oh, when she starts having a panic attack, he's like, why are you doing this? Just stop. Because he doesn't want her running off and doing some crazy shit again. He's like, you're only required to be outside. You're not required to go traipsing off.
Yes.
You don't need no pep in your step, bitch. Just sit the fuck down.
And he describes it too, or is it... Oh, sorry, not he. He doesn't describe it because he doesn't know. But she describes it when she's down there with him for one of these days, that it, as she's standing at the edge of the stairs and overlooking the gravel and stuff, she's describing it as feeling like the universe is stopped at her feet, and it's nothing but like vast emptiness in front of her, crushing her from all angles. And that's when I think he makes like a noise behind her, and she looks at him, and he's like holding the paper, knuckles white, just pale and still. And she starts apologizing. I'm sorry. And that's when he flips out. Or he doesn't really flip out on her.
No,
he's just like, you don't, just stop it.
Yeah.
Stop freaking out. Just go sit down. If you can't walk, whatever. You just need to be outside.
Just be outside. Sit down with me. Be outside. Just stop freaking out. And I think that's when they start having conversations. And he asks her, like, why are you being like this? What's wrong with you? And she tells him, oh, I think it's because pretty much that I've been like locked in a fucking cage. And the death of my fucking friends. Like, why would you even have to ask that?
Come on, Draco. Why do you think open spaces are scary for her?
Yeah. But I think when he asks that question, what he really means is how, like, what is it that could get back? Why are you like this? And how can we get you better? He doesn't say it that way, but he just says, why are you like this? And so she tells him, like, well, yeah, because of this, and that. And she pretty much says that it's like she's being abandoned all over again. And she's starting to feel that everyone's dead. She's just left alone. She can't handle it in the world. And I can handle it when my world feels small. But when I remember how big it is, I can't.
Which is an important thing to note, because, again, this is the theme through this book, is her feeling abandoned. Alone.
Yeah, which is so strange. It's such a different take on the real story and the movies, because she was never alone. So this is, I feel like, if anything, that is what's breaking Hermione, losing her friends and then being alone, because she's always had her friends and family.
I think she says that a lot through here too, is that she was always this like bookish girl who was weird with this frizzy hair, who never had any friends, and then to have finally found friends and a family,
and then it's just taken from her.
I agree. I think that is probably what's the thing, because of course the essay and all of that and the tortures probably would have been more tolerable had she known her friends were out there, had she known there was, her roots were out there somewhere. But not having them almost feels like, what's the point?
Yeah, that's how I would feel.
Yeah.
So then, like, Draco just decides that, he realizes that listening to her say this, that she is doing this mostly to herself. And he says, I have to admit, when I heard it was you I would be getting, I was looking forward to being the one finally to break you. But I doubt that it's even possible to exceed what you've done to yourself. And then she says, I'm sure you'll try. And he kind of gives this like glimmer, like this little smile, and it has like a little glint or glimmer to his eyes. Almost like, I don't know, it's weird, because like now he's feeling like, oh, she's bringing her Gryffindor back, and he's kind of like liking that, which is so weird in a way.
Ooh, I didn't take it that way, but I like that you took it that way.
I did. The minute she said that, oh, I'm sure you'll try, meaning that it's almost like a challenge, like it's a fight, and she's still willing to give it, and he's starting to see that she's still willing to fight.
Oh, okay.
And the fact that he like, I feel like he liked that, and that's why he kind of glinted.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, why would you like that?
I took it as he liked it. Like, I'm sure you'll try, and he was like, yeah, I'm gonna try to break you. Like, that's what he was excited about, like wanting to fucking keep fucking her over.
No, I think that he was excited to see her try and still fight. Like that she got that fight.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because being Draco, he likes that fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I always took it at that. Even from the beginning when I first started, I was like, oh, he likes the fight in her. So some guys do like that fight.
They do, yeah. And you know what? The High Reeve, it wouldn't surprise me that you would be real interested in that.
Yeah, being challenged all the time. Like, no one's really challenging him. And this girl, even in her captivity, is still a fighter. Even in his eyes. Because even though she's depressed and she's still doing her weird ass shit, she's still a fighter.
Yeah. She's still turning in her mind how she's gonna get out of this.
Yeah, and he sees it.
Yes.
He's seeing it. So but yeah, so now he didn't really talk to her that last whole bit, and then he just sat and read his book, and I think she just pretty much just sat there to overcome her fear of her agoraphobia and like looking into the sky and kind of just like, I don't know, not zeroing out, like, I don't know, just not paying attention to what's going on, just so she could like feel the outside and get used to it. That's all she was pretty much doing that whole time.
And after that, she just goes back up to her room, and then she just notes that this continued, that Malfoy shows up after lunch every day now and takes her out for walks, and it happens the same. She says after 8 days, though, after 8 days of this, he didn't show up, but Healer Stroud showed up. And so, of course, Healer Stroud is there to check on her and see if she's pregnant, how she's doing. This scene is wild to me. So Healer Stroud gets there, summons a bed. Hermione comes and lays on it. She gives Hermione a truth serum, which Hermione doesn't really want to take, but notes.
I forgot about the truth serum.
But notes that it was probably makes things easier because then she just can't lie.
Yeah.
And I love that Healer Stroud asks her how she's doing. What? Like, why would you ask this? Just stop.
The thing she says to Healer Stroud is just pretty much like, yeah, I kind of deserve this.
Yes.
Because she gives him her truth serum, she's asking her questions. What do you expect? So Hermione's being like really sassy.
She's being a little sassy. Yeah, well, so she asked her, how are you doing? And she's like, well, I've been essayed physically 5 times, and I've been, she uses the same word, essayed, mentally twice now.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, well, very good. That's a relief because there have been problems with the other girls, which I think is what we all expected. I mean, it's no surprise that you give men a free, S doll, if you will, to do with as they please. Of course, they're not going to treat it respectfully.
No.
Hermione is lucky in the sense that Draco really just handles things completely clinical. He's an asshole, generally speaking, to her, but
he's kind of very just not putting any kind of extra into what he's doing with her. It is what it is. Like, he does what he needs to do, but he doesn't touch her. He doesn't fondle her. He doesn't grope her. He just does what he needs to do. I think he just grips onto the table, and that's it. And he just lets her go and doesn't bother her. And he does what he has to do, as in like escorting her out for her walks, but he doesn't touch her any other time.
Nope.
So yeah, Healer Stroud's painting a really horrific picture for the rest of the girls. They're being pretty much really manhandled, so to speak.
Used as they would. I mean, that's
what happens.
It's no surprise because that was how they set them up to be. I mean, you're having them walk around with no underwear on, just like a sheet pretty much underneath them. You're like got blinders on them, so they have no way to see anything that's going on. So it's unsurprising that this would be the result of this. Why is she's like, oh, that's a relief. There have been problems. Yeah, bitch. There would be problems.
Of course there is.
Have you met men?
Yeah.
Like, of course. You're giving them liberty to do whatever they want with this girl.
And you're going around toting around saying this is a good thing. You're going to be bred. It's like they already look at women in the wizarding world already down. And then you're going to put them in a situation where now they're like mudblood, so to speak, so they even think that they're even worse,
even lesser, human,
and so now,
or whatever.
And so now you're putting them in a circumstance where you're giving them permission to abuse them, use and abuse them. Of course, there's going to be horrific things happening.
She's so stupid.
The High Reeve of all people is the one that's doing less of the abuse.
Imagine.
Imagine. That's fucking ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. And then I think after she drops that little tidbit of information too, she uses a permanent hair removal charm, and she also notes that the men have complained and
because they don't like their girls hairy.
Yeah, and I love though she also makes note that there was one stubborn witch who dunked her head in the bathtub when she did the charm, and so she ended up bald, which I love this little tidbit because it shows that these girls are not all of these girls are compliantly falling like this. Like they are fighting back even in this simple way as to make themselves ugly.
Yeah.
Which feels like where we would be with the like, oh, you're complaining that I've got hair? Well, fucking take
I'm not shaving shit.
I'm not shaving shit, and if you're going to take it off, you're going to take it all off.
I know.
Not be ugly and gross.
Yep. It'd be horrific every minute of the day.
Petty. Just petty and just doing everything I can to just ruin this for you.
I'd be saying some gross ass shit. I'd be doing some gross ass shit. Yeah, I'd be resorting to the worst possible things.
Same. Yeah. And so it's I like that she put this in here, that there are witches who are also doing that.
Yeah.
But then she does a simple diagnostics charm and shows that she's still not pregnant, but that her physical body is deteriorating a little bit. And Hermione admits then at this point that she can't walk. She can't go outside.
Yeah, she feels horrible. And so at this point, Shroud tells her that there's a calming draught she should that will help her get through this. And so she doesn't give it to her right away. She says she'll pretty much start giving it to her in the future. Like it'll just start popping up. Mm-hmm. And so then at that point, after her visit, Malfoy shows up telling Hermione that they have to go on they actually have to do walks now. And then he tells her, you're worse than a dog. Because now he has to walk her.
Yes, a half a mile.
Yeah, because that's every time Stroud sees her, Draco's gotten different orders.
Yes.
That is particular to her.
To fixing whatever the problem is.
Yeah, the ailment that she has. So he takes her a walk around the rose garden, which is not a very good rose garden. It's pretty much...
It has not been kept.
Yeah.
But also it's winter, so everything is dead in this rose garden.
And that's when she said, she's like, I wonder how beautiful this will be in the spring or in the summer. Because obviously it's not going to be kept up right now. And at this point, there's an illustration. There's another illustration. Mm-hmm. I like this one.
This one is cute.
It's very cute. They're just walking together.
Just walking together in the rose garden.
Yeah.
There's nothing much to say other than that.
It's
a
really
cute one. Though. It's very beautiful.
So after that, he walks her to her room, and he goes straight into her mind.
Yes.
He takes her right into her mind. How annoying that is.
I know. You don't even have... I feel like he almost doesn't warn her either.
No, he doesn't.
Sometimes... Is it this time that he like backs her up onto the bed and he's like over her doing it?
Yeah, I want to say... I don't know. He just says he goes back into her room, and he moves quickly as they were simply verifying none. No, I don't really think so. I think it's just he just brings her into the room and just goes right into her mind.
It's weird too because they can do it so quickly that literally eye contact and he's like in. Yeah. Like you have no moment to brace. It's just boom. People are in your mind reading everything that you thought up until the last time he looked into your mind.
Yeah. Ugh.
But during that time, he's also seeing again that she's still thinking about how much she hates him.
Yeah.
And so he says when he pops out, rest assured, my blood, I have no particular desire to touch you. I find your mere existence within my manner offensive. And she says to him, the feeling is decidedly mutual. And I just want to stick a pin in that. There's a couple of sayings that are going to be sprinkled through here that we just want to stick a little pin in and we'll come back in to talk about that. But I love that. I love that he's like, yo, I don't want you here, which makes perfect sense because that's sort of how he's been treating her as far as the... even at like SAs, it's like offensive. That's how she's internalizing it, that it seems like he's offended that he even has to do this.
Yeah. Because he doesn't want to do it. Clearly, he doesn't want to do it. There is no joy for him. And honestly, it doesn't appear there's joy for him in much of anything. Mm-hmm. But there definitely is none in the idea that he has to perform a sexual act on her. Mm-hmm. He just doesn't want to.
Which, so my friend who's reading the book, she had texted me something like, at what point am I supposed to be rooting for the... essayer, and I told her, it's an interesting conversation about what level he's really participating in this at, because he clearly doesn't want it. He didn't want to do it the moment that it happened. The very first time, every single time after this has been very clinical. He is obviously not wanting this. He is being forced to do this under duress from his master. So I'm not saying he's also being essayed, but he's not...
You could take it that way because at this point he just doesn't want to.
He doesn't want to, and he's not. What's that word? He's not. what's that freaking? He's not consenting. He's
No,
not consenting
he's
to it,
not.
and she's not consenting to it. He's being forced to. So to smear him 100% across the board as a rapist isn't, I don't think, an accurate
I
description
wouldn't
of
say
his
entirely
situation.
at this point. Like, what's the difference between somebody coming in a house and holding a gun to two people's heads and telling them you guys have to perform a sexual act? I mean, this is under duress.
Are you gonna call that person who was the performer of that the rapist?
Yeah.
No, you're not.
It's so gray watered here. Like, people could have different opinions on the matter, but I believe they're both being raped because it's under duress. Like, he has to do it.
I do believe
And he even
so.
says, I'm forced to do this. He was forced to marry his wife. He was forced to be into this. He didn't want any of this.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, at the end of the day, he is following orders.
he is following orders.
If we think about who his head person is, I mean, it's not like he can literally not follow orders.
Yeah.
He could, but he has a dark mark on him.
I was going to say he actually can't, because he has to do whatever the dark mark. I mean, he's loyal to that.
So it's this or death. Like, those are his options.
Yeah.
So could he choose not to? Yeah, he could, but then he would be choosing death or complete torture.
Yeah.
So,
which he is being tortured, so, which you find out later. But he obviously, I mean, Lord Voldemort tortures everybody. There's no quietness in that.
No. If you're a part of his army, just fully expect to be tortured.
Yeah. So then after this, Hermione, like, he gets out of her head, and Hermione pretty much just asks him, I think right away, did you kill Dumbledore? And he's like, what, did you forget that too? Like, how did you manage to forget that too? And then I think he just goes right into telling her, yeah, he did it. I don't know I can't remember the whole conversations, but yeah, pretty much that. Yeah, he pretty much admitted to doing it.
Yeah, and he says, I did quote what he said because, actually, I want to go before this conversation. They have another conversation where he does say, oh, did you forget everything?
Yeah.
Exactly what you said. But then he was saying, like, oh, you were unimportant to the Resistance. You essentially did, all you did was stay in the hospital wards, waving your wand, saving people who ended up being better off dead. And she has a mini panic attack at this, because then she starts thinking about the fact that she saved all of her friends, and just for them to be tortured, and just for them to be enslaved and essayed. So
she goes,
that hit hard. That hit real hard, because it feels like in the moment you're doing something great. You're a healer. You're healing your friends. All just so they could die a worse death. And he really honed in on that.
He really did. He really made it like he took her wound and he dug his finger.
He dug his finger. Yeah, he went hard. Poor Draco, damn. Like,
you have to do all that, man.
But then he does go in farther and does talk about how he killed Dumbledore, which I think is interesting. He says that the Dark Lord personally requested that he kill him at some point during 6th year. He said, so on a Friday morning, the bubbling idiot walked past me in the halls. I cursed him squarely in the back with a killing curse. He'd stopped to chat to a few first years about sherbet lemons or some other asinine subjects. Quite careless to leave himself open like that, but that's Gryffindors for you. They expect that someone might choose they never expect that someone might choose to simply assassinate them in broad daylight. I'm fairly certain he even knew I was going to try to kill him, but he still put his back to me. Perhaps he presumed I lacked the nerve. I think that's crazy. The fact that he's 16 years old. This is a professor. This is a headmaster of your school. This is a powerful, well-revered wizard.
Yeah.
And the Dark Lord has already gotten to you and told you, I want you to do this. And you're like, okay, well, here he is talking to these kids, and I'm just going to...
This is super important because obviously I want to point out a difference here. I'll put a label at the bottom. Difference. So obviously in the movies, in the book, Draco did not kill Dumbledore. That was Snape. Draco killed Dumbledore also in this book in front of a bunch of people. That's not what happened in the book or in the movies. It's crazy that he did kill him, and he killed him behind his back. Now, obviously, there was some driving force. There had to have been for Draco to have done it, because in the movies and the books, that's not what he does. And there was no reason other than the fact that the High Lord Voldemort told him to. So in this one, even though Lord Voldemort told him to, Draco got the nerve. So that's interesting. We have to figure out what made Draco get the nerve to do it this time versus last time. At this point, Draco's mom is still alive, so that's not the reason. of Draco's mom being dead.
Because of course she died during the war.
Yeah, because she didn't die yet. So it's not his anger towards his mom's death. So that's not it. But there's something that drove Draco to that point.
At this point, it almost comes off like it was that he aspired for a higher station, because it even says, he even says after this, like, the High Lord was so proud of me, he called me a prodigy. And
which is also a difference if that is the reason, because Draco had no need for that stuff in the book, and he was still very cowardly. I use the word cowardly, but honestly, it's not cowardice to not kill somebody. Yeah. He backed down. He backed down from doing it because, in my opinion, Draco is not, even in the books and in the movies, he's not I don't think he really is as bad as he tries to come off across. I think that's just, he's playing a role because that's what his dad was. So I don't believe that he was a coward, so to speak, in the books. And for some reasons, for some things he is. But in that particular moment when he did not kill Dumbledore, I do not believe him to be a coward. And the reason for him to kill Dumbledore in this book is kind of intriguing as to what it could have possibly been. I really, really, at this point, I know. But in the book, when I was first reading it, I wanted to know what was the difference. Why would it be the difference? Also, it's important to note, at this time, Dumbledore did die in both parts at the same time. Like, he did die at the same part in the book that he would have done in this book. So there's no altering thing in that. That's still the same. But Draco killing is a very alternate. And in the books and the movies, Snape was the reason for the killing. So I'm curious as to what Snape was doing in this book.
I like this, though, because if there's one thing we learn about the Draco in this book, is that he does not lack the nerve for anything.
No.
So this was a great foundation for you to already understand that somebody thought he didn't have the nerve to do something. He absolutely, at 16, had the nerve to do something, regardless of what it was. And that sentiment clearly has never stopped, because now he's the High Reeve at such a young age. He's like 24 in this book.
Yeah, so it just continued. Whatever it was that set him on this path at that point to kill Dumbledore, he did it. He did it behind Dumbledore's back in front of a bunch of people. And he just kept going after that. And it just got more and more, like, intense with his determination.
And ruthlessness.
Yeah.
Because, again, we know him now as the High Reeve, who's mass murdering people with the killing curse without hesitation, back to back to back.
And his first kill is Dumbledore. His first kill at 16 is Dumbledore. That's pretty fucking intense.
So it almost seems that anything after that is once you get the nerve to kill somebody at 16, this high status person,
who cares about anybody else?
Who cares? Like, you've reached the max of your what did he just say? His nerve, I guess. You've reached the max of that, and it's really just child's play after that.
Yeah. So after they have that whole discussion, he says Voldemort was pleased to make him a Death Eater. At this point, Hermione pretty much just goes into a deep sleep after this.
Yep.
And she starts having memory dreams, I like to call them. And at this time, she's like walking up to the rooftop, and she sees Harry there, and he's just smoking a cigarette, which is so crazy to me. I like this image. I do. Also, there's the illustration of this in this book right around this time. But I really like this image in my head of a grown-ass Harry Potter just chilling with his ruffled hair, with his glasses just like probably bruised and beaten from all the war, and just like a war-hardened person, which is crazy because even though he's war-hardened, his lightness, so to speak, isn't being wiped, because he mentions that in this, saying pretty much bringing up how there's a difference between him and Hermione, and how did they get to this point, how did they drift apart, and
he asks her to, what happened to us. I think that's the first thing that we hear in the dream, and she said a war. And he is war hardened in general, but specifically here too, she's noting that he's beaten up. Like, he's got a black eye, he's got a cut, he's got ribs. Yeah,
he's beaten. He's for sure went through war.
Yeah. And I love the illustration that is accompanying this, because that is exactly what I pictured.
Yes.
Like,
I love it.
And I love that he smokes now, even though it's such a It feels like a dark thing to do, but here he is smoking.
Yeah, I don't like smoking either, but like for this image in my head, it's like almost a noir type of like feel.
Yes,
I really like that
perfectly.
Yes,
into the world that she's built.
Yeah,
but it's weird because it's like, okay, you're like the saving grace for everybody. You need to be in like top physical condition and you're smoking. Like I don't have any.
Well, you know, he's raised as a muggle too. So I always wondered, do the wizards even smoke really? Like do they smoke actual human cigarettes? Do they like, or like regular people's cigarettes? So it's almost like he's a muggle going back to doing muggle things. Well, he was raised muggle. He wasn't muggle, but he's raised muggle doing muggle things, and smoking is one of them. And that's what I imagine. It's like he's going back to his muggle roots, and you know, even though he's in the wizarding world, he probably got a pack of cigarettes from the muggle world, came back and like, fuck this fucking shit, and I gotta be Mr. Light.
I gotta be Mr. Light. Though I love this sentiment that you're saying, because
he is, though.
He is, but it's just like, I want to know where the smoking came from, because throughout this entire book, he is still Mr. fucking Light. Like, he embraces this. That's all he talks about. That's all he wants to do. So the fact that he at one point was just like, oh my fucking God, I can't take the pressure.
Yeah, I can't take the pressure. So he's advocating for light over darkness. And he even tells, like, he says, you don't think good could just win. And he says, everyone who wins say that they were good, but they're the ones who write the history. And Hermione says that to him, because she's trying to tell him at this point that only doing things for goodness, like only using certain spells and only doing certain things, they don't get into too much detail here, but she pretty much says that we can't just continue doing only good. We have to do other things because they're winning. They're kicking our ass. Yeah. And to just sit here and only do things for good and light isn't going to work out in our favor.
Yes, 100%. And this line that he says to her, you don't think good can just win. What? Yeah. What? No, good cannot just win. The fact that this is even a conversation, like, he's not stupid.
No.
So I don't know why this is what he's latched onto. And of course, it doesn't get into too much detail here, but just that is enough. Like, no, Harry, no, good does not just triumph evil at every turn.
No.
And he even tries to dismiss what she says is, well, that's Muggle history. And she's like, no, this is fact. Like, you don't just win because you're good.
That's just war. That's just war as a whole.
This is reality, Harry. You have to actually win. And those who you look back on in history and see have won, you think that they're good, and that's why they won, but that's not true.
Yeah.
You think they're good because that's the propaganda from the history that they've given you.
That's just how reality is.
That is how. So I don't. And the fact that everyone's so shocked that this is the take that Hermione is, it's like, because she's smart. Because she reads books.
She should have been a Ravenclaw, in my opinion.
I agree. I agree.
Fucking, she should have been. But the reason why she's not is because she just constantly doesn't let things die. She's super brave about it, and she continues to push forward. That's the only reason why she's a Gryffindor, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Otherwise, she's completely a Ravenclaw in my head.
Yeah.
Because at this point, what she's saying, she would rather take to doing certain spells and certain things, and not only doing things good. Like, she knows, she's like, that's not going to work. That's a Ravenclaw thing to say. That's a Ravenclaw thing to say, in my opinion.
And not betting on that's going to be what saves you. It's just, because you're good, that's why you're going to win.
Yeah, no, it's
so stupid. And he even tries to throw it in her face too, and says, like, you used to be more righteous than I was. Yeah. What happened to that girl? And she says, that girl died trying to say Colin Creevey.
Yeah.
We don't know what happened to Colin at this point, but she said, I was always willing to do whatever it took. Those adventures of ours in school, once I was in, I was in. Maybe you just never noticed how far I was willing to go.
For you.
For you.
Yeah.
Yes, for you.
Because for Ron and Harry, particularly Harry was like her very first friend, because Ron was Ron. Was Ron. But Harry and her were always like, she really like loved Harry as a best friend, and he was always there to fight the fight with her and be by her side. And so she loved him because that was her first real friend. And so she was willing to do anything for him. And yeah, that was the end of that dream. She woke up feeling that was, whatever she felt. I don't know. I would feel some sort of way about it. I would feel kind of almost like an angry disappointment, being that, knowing this is her first memory of Harry that she's released and unlocked. And it came across as they were at a crossroads with each other.
Yeah, that they weren't friendly like they used to be.
Yeah, and that's kind of sad and disheartening, because that conversation alone just goes to show you that they were starting to split amongst sides. And hers was, I don't want to only use light and goodness. And his was, no, we need to. And that's where friendships end, is when stuff like that happens.
Yeah. When you have such groundbreaking divisions.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's sad. Every interaction that we get with Harry through this, I feel, was extra sad because, you know, he's dead at the end.
Yeah.
So
and
even
tortured.
this, and tortured. So even this at the end, seeing him worn down, seeing him broken down, holding on to the last shred of what he thinks is going to get him to the end of the war. And you just know that, well, he was wrong because he was tortured
Obviously
and killed.
Yeah.
What's interesting, though, is that she does wake up and understand that this is a memory.
Yeah.
That this wasn't just a dream. Because when she had the dream with Ginny, she wasn't sure and she forgot it right away. So this is her first memory that she recognizes a memory, woke up to remembering it as a memory.
Yeah. After this memory, it kind of like triggered that whole like a whole recollection of how she argued with the Order about constantly only using like light magic and not pretty much going after the Death Eaters, just kind of stunning them instead of actually doing anything rather than that. It's like, how do you fight a war if all you're doing is paralyzing people?
I don't, like, how are you going to win and you're not killing them?
Your numbers are just going to continue decreasing while theirs steadily grows.
Yeah, you're just going to win. Imprison them? That was your plan? No. Stun them and imprison them?
Well, everybody's dying because everybody on your side is constantly dying. Yes. So you don't have the people, the masses, to hold these prisoners because you're just stunning them and leaving them there only for them to get back up and continue the war later. No, it's ridiculous. And Hermione has the sense to be like, this needs to stop. And I'm sure she's not the only one, but she is feeling alone.
Yes.
She's saying that everybody was pretty much taking Harry's side.
Yes, that she was constantly arguing and getting pushier and pushier about it. And it was dividing her from the rest of the Order, essentially.
And it was making her feel so heartbroken. Mm-hmm. So she forced herself to get up out of bed and just walk around the manor because she was just like, I need to get out of my funk. I can't be thinking about this. Mm-hmm. I mean, like you said, it's already over. It's already done.
Yep.
Harry's dead and they lost because of this thinking. Obviously.
I would be so upset again with the Fury.
Yeah. I don't know how she didn't decide that she wants to be angry this day.
Yeah.
Like every day there's a choice in your emotion to some degree. And being angry is one of them. Mm-hmm. Like I would be furious with this.
Especially knowing like you were right. You were right the entire time.
Yeah.
And now everybody's dead. And now everybody's dead. And you can't even be like, I was right.
No. Who you say that to? The portrait?
Draco, hey, I told them to kill you guys.
They don't want to listen. Well, I think he probably knew. I mean, he was fighting that war, so I'm sure he knew that all they were doing was stunning them. If you're on the opposite side and all you know is you're being paralyzed and stunned, I'm coming in there like a beast. I'm like, I'm killing all of you today.
Fucking killing, curse, killing. That's why he got so proficient.
Yeah. He's like, these bitches.
He was dodging stunners and he just fucking kill these stupid idiots.
Yeah.
And that's why he has such disdain towards them, I think, because he's constantly like trash talking them. Like, you're stupid, Order.
Yeah.
They don't know any better. We have to put it in the papers that you're with me or else they wouldn't have figured it out because they're so stupid.
They're just stun their way through anyway. Like,
exactly.
Like,
I could defeat them all by myself, a one-man army. Like,
true though, really.
Yeah. But this goes back to what you had originally talked about earlier in the first episode about this optimism, this toxic optimism.
Yeah.
I don't understand how Harry was able to amass an army behind him or a resistance, an order behind him supporting this idea.
Yeah.
How was there nobody but Hermione and a couple other people who were like,
it's ridiculous.
How are we going to win this war? Not killing anybody.
Yeah, it completely makes my mouth just drop because it's just like, really? Really? And I want to believe if Dumbledore was alive that he'd be like, nah, kill these bitches.
Yeah, because
Dumbledore's
you're
not
going to win and you're not going to win this way. There's no way. And it's one thing to, I get Harry's point of view as we go through this too. We'll talk about it more. I get his point of view for himself.
For himself and himself alone.
That's it. Everybody else should be able to protect themselves and use ambiguously gray magic if they feel they want to do that. For you to make this law throughout your entire order saying only light magic, only stunners.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. We could go on about this.
We could.
Day,
we won't.
But yeah, we have to do this another time because it's a theme throughout the book.
It is.
So we'll get back on this again.
We'll touch on this more.
But anyways, so while Hermione's like walking around, she's starting to realize those compulsions that she was ordered to have are pretty much controlled by her own thoughts. Mm-hmm. Like, as you know, she has already managed to hurt herself several times by accident. Yep. It's because she's not intending to. Mm-hmm. So she's starting to realize that as long as she doesn't think that she wants to do something and it happens, she could still manage to do it.
Yeah, she's recognizing that it's her putting limitations on herself. So if she doesn't perceive something as being quiet, or being loud,
Yeah.
then she can be as loud as she perceives loudness to
because
be.
she doesn't think it's loud.
Yes.
I can easily beat that fucking thing.
Yeah. Well, she tries.
Yeah, she tries.
She tries.
She can't. She tries and she can't. How does she try though? I don't remember.
She's trying to think of something. She's like trying to scream.
And
she's trying to think of not screaming or changing her ideas of what screaming the loudness is.
Yeah.
She's unsuccessful though, and she doesn't break it.
Yeah, I think I could do it. I want to try. Put it on me. Let me try. Probably do the high read.
Yeah, please. That one specifically. Right back to the when am I going to be rooting for the essayist in
Sorry,
this?
guys, I got ahead of myself.
During this time too, she also puts together the fact that there needs to be 2 Death Eaters bearing a mark to be able to remove the manacles.
Yeah.
And then she comes back again to the fact that she has 2 options, which is either Malfoy kills her or helps her escape. Either way, Malfoy is an option that there's no option that doesn't involve Malfoy. Essentially,
Malfoy has to be the main focus of whatever it needs for her plan.
Yeah,
doesn't matter. Whatever the plan is, Malfoy is the top of her plan.
Which Hermione, we've known this since day one.
Yeah,
like we know Hermione. I don't know why you keep thinking of ways to go around to kill yourself or get him to kill you. We've had this conversation with you like 5 times already.
Yeah, knock it off.
Knock it off. I think we changed areas or conflated 2 scenes because this is the part where she starts walking out and Draco walks in. And he says to her, "Is this a muggle thing?"
Yeah.
So sorry, guys. It happens here. And then, and she had gotten a potion that morning.
To be acclimated to the manor.
Yeah, well,
that's right.
Well, yeah, so she gets it. She doesn't know what it is. She gets it with breakfast. And she's like, I'm not taking this. I don't take potions. I don't know what they are.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take it until I'm commanded to take it, which is like her one act of rebellion.
Now you want to rebel? But yeah, so I think that's when Draco goes over to her, takes the potion. He notices that she didn't take the potion.
Yep.
So he takes the potion. He tells her that Stroud is making her take it, and then so he goes up to her, and I think he gets her to drink it.
Yeah. Well, he
tells her.
He says to her, essentially, go grab the potion and come over here and bring it over here. And he's like, now I'm not going to kill you.
Yeah.
So and even if I were, I'm sure that you would. What did she say? Something
come
perfect.
Begging to her.
Yeah, I'm sure that you would come begging and obliged to do it.
Yes.
And then he says, "Now take it and swallow all of it." And so she does. I love the description that Senlin Yu uses here. She says, "Well, Hermione's thinking that it feels like an egg that was cracked across the back of her mind. Something cold oozed over her consciousness until her mind felt entirely enveloped inside. It was like experiencing herself in third person." Just this imagery of there's this feel of like an egg, coldness.
It's just going
oozing
over you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And at this point she starts to realize she feels nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then she asks Draco, she turns to him and asks him, "Is this what it feels like to be you?" Mm-hmm. And that's how that chapter ends.
So good.
Yeah. Oh my God. As much as depressing and sorrowful these past 5 chapters are, you got to take the light where you can and try to get through it. And when we discuss the book with each other as we read each chapter, we kind of find bits and pieces of things that can make us laugh.
Humor. Yeah. I mean, you have to. And she even injects a little bit of humor too in here subtly, because you have to. You can't read a book like this that's just nothing but depression and not give any moment of lightheartedness or a break for the reader. So yes, it's beautifully done. The depression and then the little toss of a kernel of happiness that she throws in there.
Or you just make up your own things and start laughing about shit that's not funny.
Yeah, no. Well, again, you have to. If she ain't gonna give it to us, we're gonna make it.
Yeah,
because it's rough in here.
It is rough. Yeah, I mean, what else can you do but try to find moments of little bits of, I don't know, happiness or something kind of silly. I don't know. Hermione even tries to do as much as she possibly can to try and keep her mind off things. So why shouldn't we?
Exactly. Right. And we do it with anger and humor. she does it with just self-pitying, which to each their own.
Yeah.
Nobody's faulting her. But that's the end of this episode. Next week, we will be doing episodes 11 through 15.
Yes.
I believe.
Yeah.
And again, it's just 5 chapters per episode, which we post our episodes every Wednesday at 5 p.m.
Pacific Standard Time.
5 Pacific Standard Time. I'm sorry. I don't know why I struggled with that.
If you don't want to miss us, like and subscribe. We're on YouTube, Spotify, and Amazon Music.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
What is it? Let's get into it. Let's jump into it.
You know what? It's fine.
It's fine. It's totally fine. Why did I say let's?
I don't know. Okay.
I've got something to say. That's not how I meant it, but that's how I said it.
No, I know. I figured you drew your lip gloss.
Instead of pressing it, we're like, she got energized after that essay section.
I felt so shitty.
It was the best thing.
I was like, she got peppered.
Yeah, she did.
I should have said that, but I didn't know what else to say. I mean, right after that, she's just like, "Oh fuck yeah, I'm going."
Yeah, she really
Like,
got her motivation.
Yeah, she's like, "I just got fucked. I'm leaving this room."
I got the D, and now it's time to go. It's time to bounce.
I said fucking peppered herself. I was like, I didn't want to say that. I was like, I don't know what else to say, but I'm gonna say it.
We got a pepper her step. That was good. I liked that episode a lot.
I did too.
Our angle was good. Our lighting was good. Our fits were good.